welcome to this week's video. So today I'm going to show you how I draw Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and then I'm going to show you how we put together all our Marvel characters onto a big collage, and I'm going to give you a neat trick for cutting out neatly. So if you don't want to see the Groot bit, then you can fast forward to the cutting out tip, but if you're ready, let's go. So the method I used to draw Groot was using the negative space technique, which is the same technique I used to draw Spiderman a couple of weeks ago. And I've marked out on my reference picture the green shaded area here, and this is the negative space. So rather than looking at Groot and thinking he looks quite complicated and it would be difficult to draw the angles, then basically you just try and look at the green shaded area and draw those shapes instead of drawing Groot actually himself. So obviously it's probably a combination of both, but it does kind of simplify drawing the more complicated shapes and looking at a different way of drawing altogether. And once you get more practiced at that, then you can actually try doing it without the guidelines, but you're looking at the spaces that are created around Groot and sort of in between legs, arms, hands and that kind of thing. So I drew this using a pencil to start with, and that was before I outlined anything with my black fineliner, and I like to use a pencil because that enables you to erase out any parts that you don't want or to change anything round if you've made a mistake. So once I was happy with the shape that I'd got for the outline of Groot, I then went in with my black fineliner, as you can see here, just to mark out a rough shape or a basic outline of all the main features. So I think the most complicated thing about drawing Groot is actually all the shading on his body. And I've tried to simplify this as well, and what I did was, once I'd done the outline, I just went in with one coloured marker, so I'm just using I think it's a canary yellow colour, and just filled in the whole of his body in that one canary yellow colour. And this was what I thought was the base colour underneath all the different shaded areas, and it would give us a good starting point for then building up with the colour pencils. So the colour pencils I'm using are the Prismacolor colour pencils, and I really like these because as colour pencils go, they are probably not the best or the most expensive, but because of this it means you can get a larger pack with a larger variety of different shades and different colours. They also layer really nicely on top of each other. So I picked several different colours that I thought would suit Groot and started off with those lighter colours and built up gradually in layers, kind of building up as I went along the shapes of his body. They're not exactly the same as the reference picture, but they're kind of good enough and give the right impression of his sort of twiny, woody body. And this did take a little bit of time just to build up those areas, but you can spend as much time or as little time on it as you want to, just so that you're happy with the end result. As I've said before, it's really important when you're colouring in with colour pencils to use a really nice sharp point on your pencils, and in that way you can get a really good coverage and the colours tend to blend together a lot more easily as well. Layering with colour pencil also enables you to build up gradually, but also if you're a little bit unsure of what colours or what shading goes where, it allows you to do it gradually without making any harsh mistakes straight away. So you can kind of see where you're going with it and see what you need to do to build him up and to try and make him as much like the real character as you can. and it's a little bit more forgiving than layering on with another felt tip or alcohol marker. So I find it a little bit easier and a little bit more forgiving, and it enables you to change things as you go a little bit as well. And the fact that I did the yellow underneath, when you're shading around it, it does allow those highlights to kind of come through with that lighter undercolour. So I just used a variety of greens, browns, golds and a little bit of black at the end, and that was just to get all those different colour shadings in before I finished. So the important thing when cutting out is to use scissors that aren't too large. So I've got these ones here. And the other tip is not to use too big a piece of paper at once. So I'm going to cut this piece of paper into two and put that one to the side. Now when you're cutting out, it's very easy just to think that you cut out like this, but I would recommend, rather than moving the scissors, that you actually move just the paper. So all you're doing with the scissors is this. Okay, so you get into the bit where you want to use, and then you're just literally keeping the scissors still and moving the thing you want to cut out. And that way you've got a little bit more control, and you're less likely to chop your picture in half by accident. You see, so the actual position of the scissors isn't moving, I'm just moving the card with the picture on it. And in that way you can do quite a neat controlled cutting out. Okay, so that's a lot easier and a lot neater than going, well, I'm not going to do it because I'll probably mess it up in doing this. That's just likely to end up with you chopping off Captain America's leg. Okay, so again, keep the scissors still and just move the card. And I'm going to cut out all of my characters in the same way. Now, if there are any bits on some of the other characters that you need to get into, so I'll show you in a minute. You might need to use a craft knife, but make sure if you're doing that, then you use something underneath to protect your table or surface, and be very careful that you don't cut yourself. And there we go. So the bit I was talking about, oops, wobble the camera, is, say on Spiderman, when you need to cut out this bit here, it's going to be quite hard to get in there with scissors, so it's probably best to use a craft knife or something like that, or get a grown-up to help you. And as I say, make sure that you protect the table underneath with either a piece of old newspaper or a piece of card or something like that. So once I'd done all the cutting out, it was time to put together all the characters onto a big picture, and I just rearranged them until I was happy with the result, and then I printed out a Marvel logo to put on the picture as well. Well, that's all for today, Artcadets. I hope you enjoyed today's video and enjoyed learning how to draw Groot, and also liked my neat tip for neat cutting out. If you did enjoy this video, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up, comment and subscribe to my channel, and join us next week where we'll be starting something new. See you later. Bye.